the Commodore is keeping up with you. In a world of fun and fantasy, and ever-changing views, and computer terminology, Commodore is news. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Okay, so welcome to Commodore Rediscovered. If you're new to my Commodore channel, hit notifications and subscribe. Commodore Rediscovered, it's a dedicated Commodore channel, not just covering C64 or Amiga, but all things Commodore related from the 1970s up until the present day, 2024. So yesterday, if you missed it, I uploaded a showcase and a setup guide for the very awesome Amiga Forever. Today, I'm doing C64 Forever, which is of course by the same people. So what is C64 Forever? It is pretty much a front-end emulation system where everything's all in one. And what we're doing with this today is what I did yesterday with Amiga. I'm going to show you this, where to buy it, and what we can actually do with it. So it runs all 8-bit Commodore systems, but we're going to get into that shortly. So let's actually take you over where to get this before I start showing you what it does and how to use it. So this is the C64 Forever website, and I'll leave the link in the description for this one. So you can get the free Express edition, but it comes with limitations such as just window modes. If you upgrade this to the version I'm using today, you can get yourself a DVD to go with it. If I just go to buy now, it'll give you more information just here. So we got the Plus edition, which is $20, and we got the Box Plus edition, which, like I was saying, actually comes with a DVD in case. And interestingly, it looks like Amiga Forever 10 Premium Edition, which is a box and download edition, it's actually on sale at the moment, 20% off. But anyways, that's where you can get C64 Forever from, and trust me, after you watch this video today, you'll likely go and purchase a copy of this. It really is an amazing system. Now, what I'm going to do next before opening up C64 Forever is actually download a game. So, just like my other channel, my main channel actually, Just Jamie, I always use itch.io to download modern homebrew games. So, I'm going to just type into itch.io, Commodore 64. And from here, I've got access to a lot of modern C64 games. So, it doesn't really matter which game I download, but the point is I want to download a game because I'm going to be showing you how to actually import your games into C64 Forever. So just randomly, I'm going to download Old Tower. If I just download this. Okie doke, so I'm going to download a .prg of Old Tower. Okay, so let's actually show you C64 Forever itself. So as we can see on my desktop, I got C64 ready to go. And right at the top just here, once we open up C64 Forever Plus Edition, I'll remind you I'm using here. So under CBM, we got subfolders here, and this is Systems. If I go to Systems first, we can see screenshots of every Commodore 8-bit. So you've got everything ranging from the Commodore PET 2001 model, right down to GEOS, and everything in between. So obviously we've got C64 here. And I'm going to remind you that this is pretty much based around the Vice emulator, which is in itself just a superb C64 emulator. And not just a C64 emulator, but of course Vice actually caters for all of the Commodore 8-bit microcomputers. So I'm going to just open up one of these and show you how this works. If I just select GEOS, so to open GEOS, I'm going to double left click on it. And here we go, we're inside of GEOS. So if you're not familiar with GEOS, it's pretty much a desktop environment for the C64. But we can play around with this here, there's lots to do. And to move my cursor around, I'm actually just using my mouse to do this. And of course, by left clicking, can actually take us into the folders in GEOS. So for example, if I went into configure, That's going to then open up the configure option. So lots to do in C in GEOS, and as you can hear, Vice Emulator is actually emulating the sound of the floppy disk drive, which you can turn this off, or you can do what I do and use it because I love the sound of the disk drive. So anyways, to exit out of this, all I need to do is keep my finger pressed down on the escape button. And from here, we have lots of different options here, but I'm going to get into most of this a little later. But to actually close out here, what I do is just go up to this little icon just there where it says full screen. If I left click on this one, it's going to bring us to window mode, and I can close it down. So very briefly, I'm going to open up, say, the Commodore PET. And here we go, we're straight into Commodore PET. So the same method of closing this down, very simply holding on to the escape button and then closing it down. Okay, inside of the subfolders then we have got games, and of course this is where our games are located. Now what you see just here is my C64 game collection. When you download C64 Forever, you will get a lot of homebrew games and you'll get some recognized games, but because I'm such a big C64 user, I've got a lot of games in here. So just a minute ago, I downloaded a game, and what I'm going to do is show you how to actually import your own games into C64 Forever. Okay, so all I need to do then is just go to the tools at the top, and if I go to RP9 Toolbox, so just like Amiga Forever, C64 Forever uses its own system to read and play your games. So this is RP9, and what we can do from here is convert our game images or program images or whatever. If you're using D64 images, tap images, or like I'm using today, a .prg, we can convert this to RP9, and all we need to do this is just go down to folders, source, and I need to show C64 Forever where my game is. So of course it's on my desktop, and if I just select the folder on my desktop where my All Tower game is, I go to select folder, and I can then go to start task. And as we can see, process 1 converted to RP9.1. So what this is telling us is that my alltower.prg game is now converted into RP9 format to use within C64 Forever. So if I press close on this, and right at the bottom here, we're going to find a search bar. If I just type in the name of my game, which I've just put into C64 Forever, type in All Tower. Here we go, so there's 2 copies of this here, so I've obviously already got this in C64 Forever. But to actually run our game, all I need to do is double left click on it. And here we go, so that's All Tower up and running. And again, if I just close this down, so that's pretty much how to set up your own games within C64 Forever, but we can actually do more with this. So as we can see, I've got no artwork, so if I right click on the game and I just go down to edit, which is the second option from the top, and from here, if I just go over to extras, we can actually add our own artwork to this. So what I'm going to do is just head over to Google Images. So if I type in All Tower C64, I've then got a choice of images I can manually put inside of C64 Forever to make our games look a little bit better. So let's just choose an image to represent this game. If I just use this image just here, and right click on that image, save image as, and this is a .png game, so what I'm going to do is just edit the file name because it's frankly a mess. Let's just tidy this up, and I'm going to save this inside of my games folder. So open, save, cool. So I go back to C64 Forever, and if I just go to add image, and underneath file just here, if I just left click to select an image file, I can then direct this to my alltower.png image. So it's in my games folder, and here's my image, and here it is. So underneath pixels, we can actually manipulate the sizes of the image. So NTSC, PAL, square, or just simply unknown. Now, since I'm in the PAL region of the world, I'm going to select PAL for this one. And of course, we've also got the ability here to change the width and the height of the image, but this is fine to me, so I'm going to press OK. And we can even add a short description to this. So if we open this up, I'm going to just put All Tower is a modern C64 game. Language, I'm going to just put this down to English, so we can really customize how our games are inside of C64 Forever. And United Kingdom, OK. So I've now got my image, and I've got a short description for it. If we go down to OK, and as we can see inside C64 Forever, we've now got the image. Okay, and whilst I'm talking about editing things, if we go back over to the game itself, if I right click on it and go back to the edit option, and if we head over to input, this is a part I'm going to tell you how to set up your controllers for this. So obviously I've entered into the editing option for a single game, but we can do this as a general option. But you've also got the option here to do it per game. So as we know, or if you don't know, Commodore 64 games predominantly run from port 2. So under built-in ports here, we got port 1 which is empty, and we got port 2 which says joystick, and really that's what we want for C64 games. And under play options, I'm going to put this to joystick. And if we then head over to details, we can actually edit everything here. So we got release. If I drop down release, we can actually add this from unknown to something like commercial. Say you got a commercial game, an Ocean Software game, then obviously we're going to want commercial for this. And if you really wanted to, we can actually put the homepage of the game where the game is from. And if we head over to this side, we can actually select if this game is a trainer game. So trainer, of course, is pretty much a crap game which includes cheats. So what I'm going to do then is just go down to OK, and the next thing I'm going to show you before booting this game up again is we need to set up a controller. So we need to edit a profile for this. So to do this, we're going to go to Tools and down to Options, and from here I'm going to just go over to Profiles. And under Profiles, you'll find here that my game controller, which is a Google Stadia controller, is actually already done. But if you're new to C64 Forever, you'll likely need to do this. So if I double left click on Game Controller 1, under PC device, I'm going to select Game Controller 6-axis 18 button, which is my Stadia controller. I'm then going to go down to OK. And whilst we're in this options menu, what I'm going to do is actually show you how to use full screen mode. As you noticed so far, I've not had full screen mode. So to do this, we're going to go to Emulation tab. And from here, we can configure video settings. So for example, at the top just here, if I select scan lines, it's going to give us scan lines in our games. We also got upscaling option, and we also got interpolation option. We also got preferred video mode, NTSC or PAL. Now obviously if you select NTSC, your games are going to be a lot quicker or a lot faster looking than PAL. We also can mess around with pixel aspect ratio from square to original. And we've also got full screen just here, so as it says, use hardware full screen modes. Now under graphics API, if you find games that present you with a black screen and you can't see anything, then check under graphics API. For me, it's selected by default is Direct3D 11. If you do get a black screen, then select either Direct3D 9 or GDI. And the same for audio. If you're not hearing anything, then under audio API, we can change this to exclusive mode or direct sounds. For me, the first option here works fine. And if I press OK, and what I'm going to do is open up the game again. Okay, so for the game boots up, what I'm going to do is just go down to this little joystick. It says port 2 just here. And under emulated port 2, I'm going to make sure that my joystick is selected just here. And under PC device, as we can see, my Google Stadia controller is set up. And my controller is now completely set up with the game. So what I'm going to do is just crank up the volume and put this into the full screen mode. So of course, this isn't in full screen mode, but I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. What we can actually do from this screen, before I show you how to do full screen mode, is actually save our progress. And you'll do that by hitting on this save snapshot icon. And from here, we can give this save a name. So under description, I'm going to just type in Alt Tower Save. And if I press OK, And if I just exit out of this game, okay, so to reload back the game, I'm going to just double left click on my game, and we're now going to see a window say snapshots, and under here we're going to find Alt Tower Save. And all I need to do next is just press play. And before I show you how to get into an actual full screen mode, because right now for me this is a very small screen, if I just show you some very important, a lot of Commodore 64 games needs particular keys which you can't get on modern day keyboards. If I just go down to the keyboard icon, we can then select one of these keys here. So for example, a game when you're loading one might ask you to press stop plus restore, or the Commodore key. Now, whilst we're in a game and we're loading it up, I can just access this menu, and if it asks me for, say, stop and restore, I'm going to just go on to stop and restore, and there you go, it responds, but obviously this has now shut my game down. Okay, so next up, I'm actually going to show you how to get a full screen. So to do this, I'm going to just go at the tools and options, and if I go back to emulation, I'm going to go down to full screen, and I'm actually going to use hardware full screen modes. I'm also going to go down to full screen from player and put this to always, and also beneath it, full screen from file explorer. If I also put this to always, and OK. So if I boot up my game again, and I'm actually going to load back that save state, play. And there we go, now inside of full screen mode. If I just close out of here then. Okay, so going back to the subfolders, within C64 Forever, we've also got a demo scene folder here. And this is going to be the greatest C64 demos. If you're new to C64 demos aren't literally gameplay demos. They're pretty much demos offering you technicalities of what programmers can do with C64. So, for example, if I just open up this demo just here at 9, and of course back into full screen mode again, because that's what I chose for the emulation setting. Now, interestingly, just here for this particular demo, it says turn disk. So what I need to do this is come back out by pressing escape. And from here, we're going to find a little disk icon. And if I left click on that, I'm then going to go to insert. I'm then going to go to 9.2.d64. And again, just like Commodore 64 games, we can actually save a snapshot of this. So if you fancy watching it from this particular point in the demo a little later on, then we're just going to go up to that little icon just there, save snapshot. And if I just close this down, and I go to open up my 9 demo again, I've then got my save just here, and I'll just select it and press play. And of course, saving snapshots, we can also do that in systems. So let's say, for example, I'm using C64. And let's just say I'm using this to type in a program. So let's just do what everyone does and type in 10 print, and you know what's coming. And let's just say, for example, I just want to save this. So let's say you've got lines and lines and lines of codes. Then of course we can actually save this again, just like games and just like demo. Just a simple case of going to save snapshot. And like I said, if you've got lines and lines of codes just here and you don't want to lose it, that's a really easy way of restoring what you've done. So let's open up this. So if I open up C64, I've then got my codes just here, play. And here we go, so I've now got my line back, so let's run this. Boom. Okay, next up in subfolders, if you happen to scan any games which are deemed as XXX, and I'm going to show you an example of this, and you know what I'm talking about, XXX, we have got a game here called Barbarian. For some reason, Barbarian scanned into the XXX subfolder, and we got Strip Poker too. So if you're a C64 fan, you also know that there's a lot of these type of games. Not my cup of tea at all. I think pixelated men or women or whatever is just a bit, well. Also, under gallery, we've got a really awesome gallery collection here of little scans. And if we then go down to gallery, in gallery, we can actually view some Commodore magazines. So various different stuff in here, and there is an ability to import your own contents into this section. So a little bit of Commodore history just there if you're interested. Original Commodore VIC modem advertising just there. And we've also got Commodore 64 Computer History Museum 1982. We've also got a C64 SID chip patent. So if we go into this one, this is the actual C64, original C64 patent for the obviously famous SID chip, which produces the music in the C64. So, you know, if you're a Commodore fan like myself, a massive Commodore fan, hence my channel, then a lot of you might find this interesting to look at. And talking about patents, in the Amiga Forever, there's also a patent in that as well. So for those of you who like a bit of Commodore history, or you're interested in seeing how the SID chip works, of course, the patent is going to tell you everything. Now, interestingly enough, when I was a kid, when I had my first Commodore 64, must have been 1990, I had Toolbox, and this was the same as I had, and I'm sure a lot of you also had this. If we open this up, you'll actually get the audio sound of the introduction of the C64.
Not to mention... But at the moment, it's going... That's right. Nothing.
Anyway, when I was a kid, and even today, I'm not really interested in that, but I'm sure some of you might be for nostalgia. And we've also got a videos subfolder just here, so there's various different videos of Commodore back in the old days from, say, the launch of the Amiga. Now, the reason I've got Amiga in this is that I've also got Amiga Forever, so what this does is actually combines it once you use both of them. And as you can see just here on the side, it actually says Amiga files, as well as CBM files. Now, let me show you something else really cool with this. If we go up to Tools, and we go down to ROM Toolbox, if I go under the System, and for example, I select C64, if I go to Action, it says ROM to Files. We can actually generate these ROM files here to actually be flashed or burned onto a real chip. So to do this, we're obviously going to select an Output folder, and once we select an Output folder, I'm going to just go for desktop. If I go to select folder, we'll see there the output file. So it's going to convert basic.rom and kernel.rom. So if I go to write, 3 files successfully written. Now if I press OK and close, if I go back to my desktop, we'll find those 3 files which are now ready to be burned onto a real chip. Okay, another really cool feature with C64 Forever, we can actually generate everything, all of our contents, and output it into an ISO image. If you're not sure what an ISO image is, is pretty much an image which you can either open with something like Windows Explorer or actually burn it onto a CD-ROM or a DVD. So to do this, if we go to Tools, and if I go down to Build Image, just here we're going to use the template as C64 Forever CD. Output it is obviously the ISO image, this is what we want. And what we're going to do next is just give it a volume name, so by default it says C64 Forever. You can then choose a destination of where you want the ISO created to. So by default it will likely end up in your Documents folder in your C drive. And then you just select on the right hand side here what it is you actually want converted into ISO. Once you've done this, all you need to do is press Build, and then that will copy all of your contents and literally just put it into a single image. And lastly, we can actually customize how C64 Forever looks. So for example, if I just select Games just here, if I go to View at the top, down to Mode, I can actually change from tiles to columns. And if you want your files, your game files, to look a little bit more simplified or easy on the eye, then that's a good option. If we go back to View again, to Mode and Arcade, we can actually change C64 Forever into almost like a front-end system. So here's all my games. And of course, I've got a lot of stuff on here, and I'm sure a lot of you will too if you download Amiga Forever. And if I press up on my cursor, we can actually then go into, say, Systems, and then we can scroll through the various systems that we can emulate using C64 Forever. So again, everything from the Commodore PET to the VIC-20, and we can also use this to scroll to Demo Scene. And that's it for the C64 Forever setup in Showcase today for 2024. So granted, it's quite a bit of money, especially if you want the disc version and box version, but considering what you can do in this, just like Amiga Forever, you can do a hell of a lot in this. And it also comes with lots of files that you might need in order to use with other emulators from time to time. And it's also going to give us the ability, like I've showed in the video, to actually generate the files for use with real C64s. So there's a lot there. Anyways, if you like what you see today, do hit notifications and subscribe. I'm going to be attempting to release a new Commodore video covering a different Commodore platform every day if I can. So if you've not checked out Amiga Forever, which I uploaded yesterday, do check that one out. But until next time, stay Commodore.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. In a world of fun and fantasy and ever-changing views and computer terminology, Commodore is used.